I think I might have lost my mind a bit then. It all feels very strange, blurry. I remember stamping and stamping as more made their way under my doorway. I remember grabbing every towel, sock, bit of fabric, scrap that I could find, stuffing them under the door, into the cracks around the window, anything where a slender worm might crawl, I made airtight. And then I sat there and waited. I still had no power, no phone, no way to communicate with the outside. This went on for 13 days.
What?
Every time I thought it might be safe to try and leave, I'd hear that knocking at my door come back. Luckily, there was no problem with my water supply, so I had plenty to drink. I'm just glad none of them thought to come up through the pipes. I eat a lot of ready meals, cans.
Yo, Martin held out for 13 days. This man was at war, dude. Like, holy, did he get any sleep at that point? Like, that's a long time to be stuck in your place with no help by yourself. Like, this man... Okay, I got some new respect for Martin here. What's going on, everybody? John Matrix here. Hope you're all having yourselves a wonderful day wherever you're at, whenever you're watching this. We're going to be jumping into another episode of the Magnus Archives here today. We're going to check out episode 22, Colony. Links, as always, will be down below in the description to the Rusty Quill Podcast YouTube channel, the Magnus Archives playlist, and to the Rusty Quill's website. Please do me a favor, if you've been enjoying the Magnus Archives series as much as I have, go over to their site, check out their YouTube channel, check out their website, excuse me, like all the videos that you've been enjoying, hit that sub button on their channel, and check out any kind of other ways that you can give them some extra love and support if you would like to do so. They definitely deserve it. This has been a great series so far. Every episode gets better and better, and it's something I look forward to as we go through the week, being able to sit down and hang out with my YouTube members and do some reactions to these things. So been enjoying it immensely. So go over there, check out their stuff, and yeah, give them some love. If you'd like to do the same thing for my channel, there's a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description to the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I have to offer. You can check those out if you would like to see if you would like to give my channel a little bit extra love and support. But regardless, thank you guys very much for just coming and hanging out, checking out the video. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to do so. If you enjoyed this video of mine, consider leaving a like and a sub, because it helps me and the channel grow. We also have playlists for reactions to other universes, the SCP Foundation, Warhammer 40k, Warhammer Fantasy, Dark Souls, etc., Greylock, Backrooms. So if any of that might have any interest for you, like I said, there's playlists for those, so you can check those out on the channel as well. With all the YouTube shameless plugs done, let's jump into this here. Again, this is the Magnus Archives, episode 22, Colony. Do it. I can't say it enough how much I enjoy the intro to this show.
Rusty Quill presents the Magnus Archives. Episode 22, Colony.
Colony. So right off the bat, it makes me think of like ants, you know, ant colony. So I'm wondering if this is going to be another kind of insectoid-esque, you know, horror episode. And we had a big cliffhanger at the end of the last episode with someone barging in, you know, Martin barging in on John as he was finishing up his report. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go. Yeah, you don't want to get the YouTube comments after you for spoils there, Alfie.
Martin, are you sure about this?
I just want to make a statement about what happened.
Ooh, new voice actor.
I mean, it's what we do.
No, what we do is research statements, usually those made by liars and the mentally unwell.
Well, I need to tell someone what happened, and you can vouch for the soundness of
Is that a different voice actor, or is that him changing his voice? It sounds similar enough to where it could be him, you know, or could be a new actor. Anyway,
my mind, can't you?
That is beside the point.
Look, if you're that worried about it, it doesn't
Okay.
need to be an official statement. I want a record of it.
Fine, you're right, I suppose. Statement of Martin
yeah, John, do your
Blackwood,
job.
archival assistant at the Magnus Institute, London, regarding...
A close encounter with something I believe to have once been Jane Prentiss.
Recorded direct
Jane
from
who?
subject, 12th March.
Being Jane Prentiss.
Recorded
Prentiss?
direct from subject, 12th March 2016. Statement begins.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, you were looking into that statement about the spider that wouldn't go away.
Oh,
Carlos
okay.
Vittori, I think his name was. I knew there was something not right about the whole thing from the off.
Oh,
Said it
she's the
probably
woman in
wasn't
red.
natural,
Okay.
him dying and being encased in web when he was found, and I stand by that. Though it wasn't anything to do with spiders that ended up after me. Almost wish it had been. I like spiders, big ones at least. You know the ones that you can see some fur on. I actually think they're sort of cute.
Please
So...
stick to the statement, Martin.
Right. So, you asked me to investigate that flat that he lived in down in Boothby Road, and that's what I do. I take the Northern Line up to Archway and walk the rest of the way down there. It's still quite early then, and I find the building easily enough. It looks just like Mr. Vittori said it did in his statement. And there's a big, thick door on the front, and it looks like it leads into the hall and then to the flats. Obviously it's locked, so I try the buzzers, but nobody's answering, and I figure they're probably all out at work. I didn't want to come back to you without due diligence, though. I've learned that lesson. So I have a look around the place to see if there's another way I could go in and have a poke around. And sure enough, as I walk around, I spy a basement window that's slightly ajar. It isn't much, but I reckon I can squeeze.
Martin's into breaking and entering here for the Magnus Institute. Come on now, John. All right. There's doing your job, and then there's going to jail here, John. You're making him break and entering.
Through it if I try. As I get closer, though, I notice there's something on the ground nearby. The sunlight catches on it, and at first I think it must be a screw or a little piece of metal that someone's thrown away. I get closer, and I see that it looks more like a worm of some
we're back
sort.
with the maggot
It's maybe
things,
an inch
huh?
long with a silver segmented body that goes black at one end, almost like it's been burned. It's very still, so I kneel down to have a look, and as I get closer, it begins to twitch. Its darkened head twists towards me, and it starts to writhe in this kind of eerie way, moving along the ground very fast and straight at me. And, well, to be honest, I freaked out a bit. I leapt to my feet and I just stamped on it before I had a chance to really think about what I was doing.
I would
Felt
too.
it pop beneath my shoe with a faint cracking sound like stepping on an eggshell, and a thick black slime started to ooze from where I stepped on it.
Nice.
Now, obviously I was pretty disgusted by the whole thing, so I take a moment to scrape off what's left of it and check around for any more.
Now, interestingly, it didn't sound like there was any static there when he was talking, and I believe the last guy, when he was talking about the spiders, and he mentioned something about the worms as well. When he talked about them, the worms, I believe there was some static going on. I would have to go back and recheck that out. But anyway.
None that I can see, so after composing myself for a couple of seconds, I continue on my way into the basement. The window was small. Quite a tight squeeze for me, I mean. I'm not exactly the smallest guy in the world, I know, and it's only once I'm inside that I realise it's only at ground level for the outside, so I take a bit of a tumble onto the basement floor. Luckily, I get away without hurting myself and start to have a quick look around the room. It's pretty big, and it looks like it goes under pretty much the whole building, but the light from the window doesn't get very far inside, so most of the place was very dark. And I realise that I don't have any sort of torch with me, and I can't see any light switch on the nearby wall, so I've no real way of looking around. I almost decided to turn around and try to climb out back the way I came, not least because the place had a really bad feeling to it. Like there was this musty smell, and the air was dusty and thick. And also, you're going to think I'm an idiot when I say this, but I didn't like the way my shadow moved. The light from the window behind me cast it pretty clearly on the floor, and looking at it, I swear, the edges seemed to move. It was like an undulation, like they were being shifted.
Martin's actually an elder being, and he doesn't even know it yet, okay? He's actually like Cthulhu reincarnated, and he's just here working for the Magnus Archives, and eventually he will ascend and rule all.
By something. I mean, look, I know you hate the word, but it was really spooky. Look, anyway, that was when I saw the bottom of the stairs leading up, and I didn't waste any time heading up them. The door at the top wasn't locked, so I found myself in the ground floor hall of the building, and I'll admit it was a real relief to get out of that place and into the well-lit main building. I could have left at that point, probably should have, but I decided to try one more time to see if I could talk to the current occupant of Mr. Vittery's old flat. Due diligence.
I mean, you can't say Martin isn't doing his job here. He's breaking into a place, and, to try to get some kind of answers for his boss. You know what I'm saying? He's breaking the law to do his job.
And all that. So I head up to number 4 and give a few knocks on the door. I didn't expect anyone to be in, but the door's opened by an old woman in a headscarf. I tried to ask her some questions, but it became clear she didn't really speak much in the way of English. After a few seconds, she just shook her head and pointed behind me, closing the door unceremoniously.
Interesting.
Turning round, I see a large, dark-skinned man in a very nice-looking suit eyeing me with a bit of suspicion. He introduced himself as Yasir Kundi and said he owned the building, and became slightly more cooperative after I lied to him and told him that one of the upstairs residents had buzzed me in. I told him why I was there, although obviously I didn't mention breaking in or the institute or what we do, because I find people often don't understand or respect that out in the real world. I just said that following Mr. Vittery's death, I was looking into some aspects of his history, and did he remember anything about the time he was a tenant? Mr. Kundi was about as helpful as you might expect. Told me Carlos Vittery had lived there, seemed weird, always shut himself up, but was never a problem, paid his rent on time. Used to have a cat, but it now lived with the Sanderson couple in number 2.
Just a quick little pause and tangent here. I do like that we're starting to get kind of more perspective on some of the earlier episodes, like in the past 2 episodes, Confession and Desecrated Host. That was a 2-parter. We also got more perspective on an earlier episode with the electrician working on the house that was like haunted, and he tore down the tree that had like the Horcrux of the phylactery, whatever. So it was interesting seeing things from that same story from another perspective and another character, and why that priest was there and what he went through, and the fact that there might be other entities combative even with each other in certain kind of ways, and maybe there's some kind of what's the word, not necessarily law, but rules, I don't know, rules of engagement or something like that, because he prayed for protection, and an entity spoke through him saying that this one is marked, he's not for you, and then the other entity backed off. So it's like there's an understanding potentially between other beings or something like that going on. But it's interesting now that we're I guess halfway through the first season, that we're starting to also see more background and more information from previous episodes and characters, and I enjoy that in long form series like this. So anyway,
he seemed genuinely surprised to hear about the death, but wasn't able to shed any sort of light on it. It wasn't a lot, really. Still about as much as I might have expected, so I headed back to the institute and updated
very well
on
could
what I
have.
found. And
Major Tom could have been in on it the whole time.
It wasn't a lot, really. Still about as much as I might have expected, so I headed back to the institute and updated you on what I'd found. And, well, as I'm sure you're aware, that was the last time I saw you before I disappeared. I was heading home when I got to thinking, and I was worried I hadn't really done enough investigation for you, since I got so freaked out by the basement and all. And then I remembered that I'd seen quite a lot of spider webs in the brief time I was down there, and maybe I should check it out again. I mean, like I said, I'm not really afraid of spiders, so I went back for another look. It was dark when I got to Boothby Road, but I saw that the basement window was still open. I'd made sure to bring a torch.
I was just gonna pause it and say, was he smart enough to bring a flashlight with him this time?
This time, and after a quick check to make sure nobody was watching, I climbed inside. I knew right then that I'd made a huge mistake. The air was just as musty as it had been before, but it seemed warmer than it had been, which was strange, because outside it was a cold February night. I turned on my torch and shone it around, but was disappointed to see that all those spider webs that I remembered seemed old and unremarkable. If there were spiders there, none were easily seen, and for a second I thought that the only interesting part of my return trip was that it would land me in prison if I wasn't careful. Then I heard movement from the other side of the basement. It was faint, just a rustling, really. I didn't want to check it out, I really didn't. I've catalogued and looked into enough of these cases to know that following the noise is always a really, really bad idea.
Smart.
But,
Martin smart.
I mean, it's my job, isn't it?
Maybe not.
So I slowly moved towards it, keeping my torch held in front of me like a shield. Beam was so much weaker than...
Now, I know this takes place, in London in general, in that kind of area. So, I know they don't necessarily have, there's a lot of restrictions on like guns and stuff like that. But I would still think, right, like working in this kind of field, you would want to have some kind, I don't know, again, like, because I live in America, I don't know what is legal for you to carry as like a protective weapon in, London, Britain, England, etc. But in that kind of field, if I was working in this kind of field, I would definitely have something on me at all times to protect myself. You know what I mean? Even if it is just like a heavy flashlight, like those old mag lights that were super heavy, thick metal that you could basically like, use as like a baton essentially. Even if it's just one of those, I would have those with me at all times and just beat someone up the head if they came and attacked me. You know what I mean? But yeah, so like, I was just gonna say, right? Like, I wonder if if any of these characters, Martin included, are going to be more prepared for these kind of situations as the story goes along.
I had thought it was, and it only lit up the stark outlines of the shelves and detritus that littered the basement. The movement had stopped,
True.
Or at least I couldn't hear it anymore, and I'd almost made up my mind to just turn around and leave when my torch fell across what looked like a...
I mean, I get that, but you're also like, I feel like if you've been working for them for a long enough time, you've probably seen enough strange occurrences that you would want to at least be prepared for something. That's just, I don't know, maybe that's just me and that's my attitude. I have more of the mindset of I would rather have something and not need it than need something and not have it in any given situation. You know what I mean? I'm not like one of those crazy advanced doomsday preppers or something like that, but I like to, if I'm going into a situation where, if I'm breaking in someplace to investigate something and there was a suspicious death, I'm going to have some kind of means of being able to protect myself should any occasion come up that I'm, that I can't necessarily think of. You know what I mean? Like, I try to be as prepared as possible going into something. Anyways, for around this couple minutes or seconds, whatever.
The movement had stopped, or at least I couldn't hear it anymore, and I'd almost made up my mind to just turn around and leave when my torch fell
It seems
across
that way.
what looked like a human figure.
So is he gonna see the guy that was the original statement giver from the previous episode? Is he gonna find them like moving after being like encased in the web or something like that? You would think that, right? They found his body, right? So that couldn't be him, right?
It appeared to be a woman. She was facing away from me, apparently staring at the corner of the wall.
Oh, is this the
Her
woman
hair
in the
was
red dress?
long and black. Though it was so twisted and dirty,
Yeah.
it was hard to tell if that was its original colour. She wore a threadbare...
So is she like patient zero for these like worm things? And whoever she gets in touch with somehow, she like infects them with these?
grey overcoat, though beneath it her legs were bare and covered with what I at first thought were spots. In her right hand...
Hang on, I want to rewind this and listen to that a little bit again.
Her hair was long and black. Though it was so twisted and dirty, it was hard to tell if that was its original colour. She wore a threadbare grey overcoat, though beneath it her legs were bare and covered with what I at first thought were spots. In her right hand she held a stained green handkerchief. She stood there, totally still, either not noticing the torchlight that was shining on her or not caring. I didn't move a muscle. Then, with a quick, jerky movement, she brought the handkerchief to her face and coughed. I mean, I call it a cough because that's what it looked like, but it didn't sound like a cough. It was more like you know in a nature documentary, when the lion's caught something and it's ripping it apart, that noise of wet meat. Yeah, it was like that.
Yeah.
I saw some...
You got some upper respiratory problems if you're coughing and making that kind of noise.
something drop from the handkerchief onto the floor. It's about an inch long, silver, and it
One of the worms, yep.
wriggled as it fell.
She's like literally patient zero for these
I
things.
screamed. I'm not ashamed to admit it, though looking back I really wish I hadn't. Her head snapped towards me and she locked eyes with me. Her pupils seemed ragged and collapsed, and when she smiled her teeth were chipped and blackened. I started to stagger backwards, expecting at any moment for her to lunge at me, but instead she slowly reached up and let the overcoat fall to the floor.
Oh, the
Her skin was
wiggling sound.
pale, almost grey and full of... Sorry, it still makes me sick to think about it. It was full of holes, deep, black holes, just
That's gross.
honeycombing every bit of flesh, like a wasp's nest. I could see those thin silver worms crawling in and out and their black tips twitching.
You know, you ever see those like nature documentaries or things or whatever with like bears and you see like the worms coming out of them and whatnot, you know? Or like when someone holds, you know, like a praying mantis in water and you see the worms coming out of them. Like that's what I'm imagining right now, but like coming out of this woman's body and just like all over her. She's just a host for these parasites. That would be terrifying. Literally nuke the site from orbit.
They squirmed through that pitted meat. I mean, it wasn't human. It can't have been. It took a step towards me, and as it did so, the worms began to writhe out of every hole and cavity,
That's
falling
terrifying.
to the floor in a cascading wave and starting to crawl towards me with alarming speed. I had the oddest thought then, and even as I backed away towards the stairs, I started to get my phone out. The daft thing is, I wasn't even going to call anyone for help. I just wanted to take a picture of the thing, to prove to you that it happened. You're always so quick to dismiss these statements, and I wanted proof for you. Except, well, I managed to drop it, of course.
I guess so.
Just as I was bringing up the camera app, one of the worm things reached at me and leapt at my face. That thing jumped literally 6 feet through the air at my face. It missed me, but I was so taken aback that I fell onto the stairs behind me and dropped my phone to the ground. I didn't stop to pick it up. I just fled up the stairs as fast as I could. Obviously, the door at the top wasn't locked. If it had been, I'm sure I'd be dead. Or worse. I ran faster than I ever have in my life. I've never been good at running, and every moment expected to feel something wriggling up my leg. I didn't stop running until I was sat in the underground and had checked every inch of my seat for worms. I live in Stockwell, right at the other end of the Northern Line, so by the time I got home I was starting to feel a bit safer, though utterly exhausted. I knew that there was...
I mean, she's got his phone now. She knows everything about him, so...
There's no way I was going to be able to work the next day, but without my phone, I couldn't let you know. I mean, I don't have a landline. Who does anymore? But I couldn't bring myself to stay awake long enough to send an email, so I just collapsed, fully clothed, onto the bed. I don't know how long I slept for, but it was still dark when the knocking woke me up. Don't know if it was the same night or if I'd slept right through the day. Either way, I dragged myself up, and as I sat there, it all came back to me, what I'd seen, and I shuddered. I tried to tell myself I'd imagined it. Maybe I'd overreacted to finding a homeless woman sleeping in the basement. Maybe she was sick and needed an ambulance.
Yeah, she just needed an ambulance, dude.
There was more knocking, and I reached up to flick the light on. But when I did so, nothing happened. I tried the lamp next to my bed, but again, nothing. Looking around, I saw that none of my electronics seemed to be on.
No.
It must have been some sort of power cut. Again.
This is what happens in every horror movie. At this point, I would be, like, super on guard. Nope.
One knocked at the door. Maybe it was one of my neighbours coming to check whether I'd lost the power. So I shuffled over towards the door and reached for the handle. As I was about to open it, I got a sudden chill and stopped. What if she was outside, waiting?
Martin Smart.
The worms that made a hive of her body, eager, striving to make me one as well. I thought of that awful case you had us looking into where that woman burst into worms, and I realised that this woman must be that Jane Prentiss you were telling us about. I never had one of those peepholes added, so I couldn't see what was out there. But as I took a step back, I saw something on the floor, crawling out from underneath the door. It was a small, silver-looking worm. I think I might have lost my mind a bit then. It all feels very strange, blurry. I remember stamping and stamping as more made their way under my doorway. I remember grabbing every towel, sock, bit of fabric, scrap that I could find, stuffing them under the door, into the cracks around the window, anything where a slender worm might crawl, I made airtight. And then I sat there and waited. I still had no power, no phone, no way to communicate with the outside. This went on for 13 days.
What?
Every time I thought it might be safe to try and leave, I'd hear that knocking at my door come back. Luckily, there was no problem with my water supply, so I had plenty to drink. I'm just glad none of them thought to come up through the pipes. I eat a lot of ready meals, cans.
Yo, Martin held out for 13 days. This man was at war, dude. Like, holy, did he get any sleep at that point? Like, that's a long time to be stuck in your place with no help by yourself. Like, this man... Okay, I got some new respect for Martin here.
That kind of thing, so I had food. Although after the first few days I had to start rationing. If I ever see another can of peaches... I think the worst part was the boredom. No internet, no...
I mean, does he live in an apartment, or does he have his own home? And, like, are there not windows that he can just get out and leave? Right? I mean, I guess it would be a situation then where, like, if you leave, you don't know if they were to get in, and there could be, like, worms all over your place waiting for you when you come back or something like that. But, like, I don't know, man.
Phone, no power. I read the handful of print books I owned several times. I didn't really sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd start to feel something was crawling up my legs, and I'd have to sit up and check. Other times I'd be awoken by that knocking. I spent a lot of time trying to remember what you told me about Jane Prentiss when we were working on Tim Hodges' statement, but all I remembered was that she called herself to be a practicing witch and believed to be infected by a dangerous, unknown parasite. She never talked to me. I could have heard her clearly through the door, but she never made a sound apart from that knocking. From what I saw, maybe what was in her throat didn't leave room for a voice. Strangely, she never tried to break down my door either. She just knocked.
And like, I didn't hear if he lives in an apartment complex or not, but if he does, like, wouldn't other people be coming and going and seeing this strange woman just sitting there knocking on his door? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
She knocked and knocked and knocked. Finally, I woke up this morning and she was gone. I don't know exactly how I knew. I think she brought that musty smell with her, and this morning I couldn't smell it. And there was no knocking. I mean...
Or did you get infected in your sleep and that's why she left?
It still took me about 4 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of like how confined of space there is, you know, in London, etc. I think most people just live in apartments over there, right? There's not really a whole lot of room for houses, from my understanding, but maybe I'm incorrect, right? So I would think he would live in an apartment complex, and yeah, like you would think other people would be coming and going and seeing this strange woman that's sitting there constantly knocking, and wouldn't she try to attack other people? You know, I don't know.
That musty smell with her, and this morning I couldn't smell it. And there was no knocking. I mean, it still took me about 4 hours of checking and double checking and listening at the letterbox before I got the nerve to actually open the door. But when I did, there was no one there. And I ran all the way here.
Statement ends. You're sure about all of this, Martin?
Look, I'm not going to lie to you about something like this, John. I like my job. Most of the time.
Very well. In which case, there's a room in the archives I use to sleep when working late. I suggest you stay there for now. I'll talk to Elias about whether we can get extra security, but the archives have enough locks for now. It's also supposed to be humidity controlled, and though it hasn't been working for some time, it does mean it's well sealed. Nothing will be sneaking through any window cracks.
Okay, thanks. To be honest, I didn't expect you to...
Good
take
guy
it
John
seriously.
here.
You say you lost your phone 2 weeks ago.
Thereabouts. When I went back to the basement.
Well, in that time I have received several text messages from your phone, saying you were ill with stomach problems.
Oh, snap.
The last one said you thought it might be a parasite. Though my calls trying to follow up were never answered. So if this does
He's
involve
got his
Jane
phone.
Prentiss, then I take it deadly serious. Hang on.
He's got a text from it.
I just received another text message. From you. Keep him. We have had our fun.
Oh, shit.
You'll want to see it when the Archivist's crimson fate arrives.
Oh, shit.
What does that mean?
It means I ask Elias to hire some extra security. I should probably warn Sasha and Tim as well. I'll also have a look through the archives, as I believe we should have a statement from Miss Prentiss herself in here somewhere. Recording ends.
I want to listen to that again real quick.
Elias to hire some crimson Prentiss. Then I take it deadly serious. Hang on.
What?
I just received another text message. From you. Keep him. We have had our fun. You will want to see it when the Archivist's Crimson Fate arrives.
The Archivist Crimson Fate arrives.
What does that mean?
It means I ask Elias to hire some extra security. I should probably warn Sasha and Tim as well.
See, like, John's reaction right there makes me feel like he knows more of what's going on than he lets people understand, right?
Well, I'll also have a look through the
It could be that he is just perceiving it as a threat, right? The Crimson Fate arrives. That could be, you know, a reference to, you know, blood, murder, etc. But that leads me to believe that he knows something more is going on that he's letting on, and he's, now trying to be a little bit more prepared.
Archives, as I believe we should have a statement from Miss Prentiss herself in here somewhere. Recording ends.
Interesting episode. Very interesting episode. And we got a new voice actor, too.
The Magnus Archives is
something I've been
podcast
talking about for a while.
Distributed by rustyquill.com and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike International License. Today's episode was written and performed by Jonathan Sims. It was produced by Alexander J. Newell, Mike LeBeau, and Murray Porter, and directed by Alexander J. Newell. To comment on episodes, make donations, and view links, images, videos, and show notes, visit rustyquill.com. Rate and review us on iTunes, visit us on Facebook, tweet us on Twitter @TheRustyQuill, or email us at mail@rustyquill.com. Thanks for listening.
Oh, is he? Cool. All right, well, there you go. That was episode 22, Colony. And as they said at the end there, those are all the ways that you can check them out. I will have the links down below in the description to the Magnus Archives playlist, the Rusty Quill Podcast YouTube channel, and to their website. So if you've been enjoying the series as much as I have, you know, please go over to their YouTube channel, like the episodes you've enjoyed, hit that sub button if you haven't already, and check out any kind of ways you can give them some extra love and support if you would like to do so. This is a great episode. I really like that. Not only, you know, did we get, you know, a new voice actor and Martin here, but as I also had previously said during the video, I'm also enjoying that the last, you know, several episodes, well, other than Freefall, but we've started also getting kind of new perspectives of previous episodes that are also giving us more information on those episodes and those creatures / entities, and also just overall kind of more lore building of the universe and the Magnus Archives. And I mean, yeah, it's also very interesting that it seems that, you know, whatever this parasite entity host is in this woman, you know, she got a hold of his phone because he left it there, tracked him to his house. And, you know, you got to give props for Martin, dude. He literally held out for 13 days. He was besieged, you know, blockaded. No one was allowed in and out. And that man held out the whole time. I like I said during the video, it makes me wonder, right? I believe, I don't think they said one way or the other, but I would assume more than likely that he lives in an apartment complex. Maybe it's one where he's on a level where not a lot of people go to, or it's just an empty one. I don't know. But, you know, if he held out there for 13 days and this parasite entity, you know, Jane, was out there knocking on his door for 13 days, you would suspect other people would come and go. But I mean, you're also talking about superstition, or not superstition, but supernatural entities and beings that, you know, and there's definitely been some episodes with some time funkiness, etc. going on. So who knows? Maybe he actually experienced 13 days, but the outside world, maybe not. Although it kind of would tie into what John was saying with him being sick for an extended period of time and getting text messages. It's also very interesting that the entity is new to text his boss, so that no one would come and look for him, so that he was isolated for that time. So that is also very interesting. And then at the very end, you know, the text message that he got saying that, well, the jig's up, I understand, you know, we've had our fun with him, keep him, you know, something about the Crimson Fate. What was it? What was that? Set it in the chat here. Where was it? Keep him. We've had our fun. He will want to see it when the Archivist Crimson Fate arrives. So, I mean, that's kind of an ominous statement. And it definitely seems like John knew more. Like, it seems like he recognized something about that and, like, knows more of what's going on than not. And maybe it's just him perceiving it as a threat and wanting to be more prepared, but it seems like more than that. So I hope, again, in future episodes, we might get a little more elaboration on that. But this is a great episode. A lot of kind of world building, new character being introduced, and more information on, you know, previous episodes. So this was a good one. Martin's timeline doesn't match up with our knowledge. Yeah, I would guess there are a few supernatural entities or objects, and that the Institute straight up tells their employees watch out for these. I would assume so. And I mean, you know, I wonder, this is, I'm gonna do kind of like a review and speculation video eventually at the end of season 1. But I'll go ahead and I guess kind of give a little, you know, speculation moving forward, right? Like, in these kind of scenarios, like, I feel like there's enough strange supernatural stuff happening in the Magnus Archives. Like, I wonder if they're going to eventually get to almost kind of like a Constantine state. Excuse me. Like, you know, the movie John Constantine with Keanu Reeves, where, you know, he's an exorcist and he's got all these various means and ways of combating demons and entities and things like that. Like, will stuff like that start happening in the show, right? You know what I mean? Will some of these archivists, when they're going out to investigate things, and like Martin, you know, his encounter here, will they start having people that will have certain items that can repel things or combat things? You know, will we start seeing some stuff like that happening in the Magnus Archives? So yeah, I don't know. I guess that would be something that I would be wondering about in future seasons. Will stuff like that start kind of happening? Will we see actual episodes where they, you know, the archivists themselves get involved in certain things? You know, actually getting involved in the exorcisms, or maybe even confronting or speaking with some of these entities themselves, or these creatures themselves. You know what I mean? I don't know. That could be very interesting, but that's one of my, I guess, kind of theories and or speculations for the future. So I guess we'll find out as we go along. But another great episode of the Magnus Archives. Like I said, they keep getting better and better. Really been enjoying this season, or this series, I should say, not just this season. So I appreciate you guys, you know, coming on the journey with me. I know a lot of you guys have, you know, already gone through and have watched or listened to the whole series and are kind of re-listening to it along with me. So, but it's been fun. I appreciate everyone coming in and hanging out and checking it out with me. If you enjoy the video, consider leaving a like and a sub, as it helps me and the channel grow. I greatly appreciate you guys who are still listening here to the very end. If you would like to, there is a join button underneath the video, as well as a link in the description, the YouTube membership benefits and tiers that I have to offer. You can check those out and see if any of that would have any interest for you, if you want to take your support for my channel to the next level. Otherwise, there's some other playlists for other reactions to other universes that I do. The SCP Foundation, Greylock, the Backrooms, Warhammer 40k, Warhammer Fantasy, etc. We got a bunch of stuff here on the channel as far as like reactions to universes go. So if any of those might have any interest for you, you can check all those out. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day. We'll see you on the next one.